But at the end of the day, that would have been just one thing. And what if this could potentially be a partnership? If what I sent is looked upon with a certain level of happiness.
Yeah.
Is what I'm looking for. If it doesn't make you happy, I don't want to work with you.
Okay.
Mental Health Monday.
Mental Health Monday.
With my man Blowe. What is good, boy? What's
good?
up?
What's good? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Welcome back to the country.
Thank you very much.
How are you, man? Tell the folks what you're doing, what you've been up to.
For the past 6 weeks, I've done absolutely nothing.
Okay. Tell me more.
I just got back in the country from Turkey. I've been building my brand, Extra Pulp.
Okay.
And it has a lot of different elements in countries outside of this one. And once I've done the work to like consolidate everything that I wanted to do while I was on my travels, I really wanted the opportunity to come home and collect my thoughts about it. Like give myself some patience, give myself some grace, band-aid a couple of wounds, and really, really focus on resting more than anything else.
Okay. Where does the term extra pulp come from?
It comes from my love of orange juice, first and foremost. But then also, when you're looking at orange juice in the market, 7-Eleven, the grocery store, whatever you buy it from, you have some pulp, you have no pulp, you have less pulp, but you don't have extra pulp. Okay. And the pulp is where all of the proteins, all the vitamin C, vitamin K, all of the good stuff is inside the pulp. So as a brand, I want to shine more light on the most important parts of our culture and our creativity, and actually exude that in the highest possible form.
When did they stop selling extra pulp in stores? I remember in Jersey growing up, every Sunday over samaki and saltfish, my parents always had some extra pulp orange juice at the table. So that's
was it frozen?
Nah.
I only found one orange juice that had extra pulp on it, and it's a frozen canned juice.
Nah, it was a Tropicana.
Really?
The one that was in the white and
they have high pulp.
High pulp?
High pulp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no extra pulp.
Wait, so high pulp is an extra pulp?
Extra pulp is extra.
But
high is high. There's two separate words.
Yeah, but I mean, it's separate words, but they might mean the same thing because different brands.
Sure, indeed.
You feel what I'm saying?
Something to consider.
Yeah, we can do research.
Yeah,
we're not here for facts.
You know, that's something for me. Now I'm gonna have to look that one up myself because I don't think I've seen extra. But even if I have, you know what? Then I mean, it's a good idea that I get the opportunity to keep running with.
Okay. So tell me about Rag & Bone.
When I was at Rag & Bone, I learned a lot about, number one, the male form inside of clothes, but then number two, the best way to sustainably buy clothes as a man.
When you say the male form inside of clothing, what does that mean?
Men's wear is only 2 arms and 2 legs. There's no other way for you to shape it in. That's it. It has to have 2 arms and 2 legs. There are different size physiques, but for the most part, all men's wear has 2 things on your arms, 2 things on your legs. They can be either short or long. They can be cool or warm. It's a very simple guideline to dressing a man. While when it comes to women's wear, you have fashion accessories, you have a lot of other areas. You have bust size, bottom size, you have different fluctuating weights on whatever type of period of time that young lady is in. Men, we don't have that many details to really be concerned with when it comes to covering our member. So it really goes down to fit and fabrication.
Yeah.
And with Rag & Bone, the CEO, Marcus Wainwright, he and I are the same height, we're the same weight, we wear the same size shoe.
Yeah.
And I really do believe he made Rag & Bone for the both of us.
Okay.
Everything fits me perfectly. And it also showed me that once I had the opportunity to learn from people who have been in this place that I want to be effective in, it showed me that I had so much more to learn.
Okay.
So while Rag & Bone was the beginning of my retail experience. I've never worked in any other store but Rag & Bone. So when it came down to me learning about Rag & Bone's process of branding and how they created their products and their offerings, it gave me a bird's eye view of what someone else did, and it helped me further inspire, or it helped me glean further inspiration on what I wanted to do as an entity as well.
What's the criteria for an offering when it comes to creating product and services?
The criteria is a filling a need. Is it filling a need or a void, or is it something that's going to provide a certain amount of joy or pleasure? I think, in my personal opinion, when it comes to what I'm doing, it's so personal and it's so built in on. It's so the foundation is built on how do these products and services make you feel, and me being the current you. In this situation, me being the guinea pig in my survey, I'm noticing that none of this matters if you're not happy, healthy, or well fed. So I want to be hyper intentional on everything that I'm doing, so it can continue just to bring me joy.
Okay. Joy. Talk about the concept of joy. So you've had joy in orange juice. You've also had joy in clothing. Let's speak about the joy in traveling.
Escapism.
Okay.
It's the joy of escapism.
Okay.
Honestly,
me more about that.
For instance, if this conversation was toxic, I can escape right now without having to get up. So I think there are different levels of escapism, but for me to continue being happy, I had to get out of my hometown.
Okay.
And I had to go see who I was in other places, and without the comfort of home.
Yeah. So you needed a reflection of who you were in the eyes of others.
Indeed. What is my weight in the world more so than anything else? Like, what is my place on this planet? Because I was informed that something was sent here to kill us.
Yeah.
Something was sent here to wipe all of us out. And as opposed to taking that land down, I decided to figure out if it's meant to take me out, it's going to have to take me all the way out. And that is the thing that I think that's the biggest thing that I'm taking from COVID that I'm going to live the rest of my life with is if it's going to come, it's going to have to come all the way. That's no matter what the situation is. That's in business, that's in friendships, that's in relationships. If you're lukewarm, I just got to spit you from my mouth. This is not, it's hot or cold right now because we can't afford to play anymore with the power, with the talent, with the abilities, with the resources that are available for us to sustain. We just can't play anymore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of children in the way, and those children are distractions from real progression.
When did you? I got that.
You feel me?
When did you become aware that you were building something?
I've always been aware. It was always one of those things where I knew I needed to create something for people to believe in. Because I've always believed in myself so much.
Yeah.
So you can't instill confidence inside of anybody. You can be a representation and a reminder of confidence, and you can inspire confidence, but you can't instill it. And the only way to truly inspire someone is to live it yourself. If you're not living it, you're lying, in my personal opinion. And I do my best to live everything I say I do.
Yeah. So, let's talk about business contracts.
Let's do it.
You got a chance to work with factories this year. Was that under contract, or was it just verbal agreement on, hey, I have the funds and I would like for you guys to bring this to life?
The one thing that COVID destroyed the supply chain. So when you think about these entities, these pattern makers, any maker of anything, they weren't making anything anymore.
So there was a gap in the market.
There was a very large gap. So what I was able to do was pull up. There's great value in pulling up. An email doesn't work sometimes. The phone call doesn't have that feel.
Yeah.
I was in Paris and I was having lunch with Sam Lambert from Art Comes First.
What year was this?
This was this past summer. This was in August.
Okay, so 2020.
I'm in Paris 2021. This just happened.
Oh, this just
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Paris with Sam Lambert from Art Comes First, and I was complaining to him about. I was just bitching, honestly, but he's so positive that he told me that the reason why I was upset about what had transpired or what had taken place was because I didn't show up to see it for myself. He said my presence is undeniable, and when you send a flare out, it's different than the comment. So, you're going to shed more light in the room yourself as opposed to sending a messenger or a message.
Yeah.
And that just was confirmation on the value of pulling up. but I sought after everybody I was interested in working with, and I sought after the things that I wanted to learn more about. So I really gained a very, very vast and greater understanding of Turkish Terry. And working at Rag & Bone arguably made the best t-shirt that I've ever worn in my life. It's a Pima cotton t-shirt out of Peru, and it's breathable, it's stretchable. You wash it, it can re-shrink into size, and some of those shirts I've had for close to a decade. As opposed to me attempting to make a shirt like Rag & Bone, I decided to take the blueprint that Rag & Bone showed me and how they were able to be creative and find another medium to be equally as creative with, and that's Turkish Terry. And you know, my name is Terrance. Turkish Terry is one of those things that I feel like the story is going to make itself, but I had to go there to learn more about it first, as opposed to thinking what I wanted to make with it as the priority. I've made several things, but I still haven't bought a product to market yet because I'm still in the learning phase myself.
How did you become aware of your marketability while you were out of the country?
How did I become aware? Well, I've been aware of my marketability for a little while because I see my impression on things that I've inspired. I'm able to see how my ideas have turned into profit for other people. And I'm really, really interested in turning my ideas into profit for myself and my family now.
Okay.
For the longest time, I've worked behind a lot of people bars. I've made a lot of people money in the bar space. And when COVID happened, no one had anything for me.
Were there any notable bars?
Several. They're not noteworthy at the moment because they're not paying me to talk about them in public.
That's real. That's real. That's real. Now, within the landscape of traveling, having these conversations, opening up to folks and people reaching out, there was one moment you and I had talked in the middle of the pandemic, and you told me that one of the designers for Beyonce reached out. What was that like, having that moment?
Honestly, it really wasn't even a moment. Like, we went to high school together.
Okay. I've gone to high school with a lot of people who don't reach out.
Yeah, well, I reached out to her actually.
Okay.
It was one of those things where she is doing her thing. I'm extremely impressed with everything that she's done. And I was telling a friend of mine that I was actually getting into like the actuation phase on something that I made. And they was like, well, why don't you reach out to this person?
What's an actuation phase?
Like when things are actually happening. Like
okay.
You plan, you plot, scheme, and then you execute. So even in execution, like if I were to get up to go to the store, the first part of that execution is taking the first step to stand up.
Yes.
That's actuation.
Okay.
They may not be me getting to the store yet, but that is me in the phase of moving to the end goal, which is to get to the store. So as I begin to move to like going through the different stages of cultivating these products, I sent over a few shots of what I was working on, what I put together, and a friend of mine said, yo, why don't you reach out to Z? And I was like, you know what? I should do that. And I reached out, and she dropped me an address. She said, hey, when you finish, send it over. Okay. I still haven't sent anything over because she don't realize the battery that she put on my back by even just accepting the DM. Yeah. You know, because then it just forced me to be even more intentional because at any point, my product is a step away from Beyonce. So I'm not going to just send anything over there.
Also, products take time.
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. I could have sent something, but at the end of the day, that would have been just one thing. And what if this could potentially be a partnership? If what I sent is looked upon with a certain level of happiness. Yeah. Is what I'm looking for. If it doesn't make you happy, I don't want to work with you.
Okay. Okay. Where does that come from?
Because you're not going to be able to sustain the joy that I have in creating this thing. Like this thing really, Extra Pulp brings me joy every day. I work on my business every day from the moment I get up to the time till it's time for me to go to sleep. And the only reason why I'm able to invest as much energy, time into it is because I really, really love it. And in order for me to partner with people going forward, they have to have that ability to drive deep into their emotions. Because this is a very deeply emotional brand for me. Especially given the time in my life when I cultivated it, the space that I was coming out of, everything has to be hyper intentional going forward because it's possible. And I don't really want energy that's only going to take away from something that I have so much invested into. So it has to move and drive emotion. It has to be it has to put a smile on your face, because that's what luxury is. Luxury is how things make you feel, not how they look to other people. The best part of these sweatpants is the part that touch my skin, not what you see on this side. That's why it's comfortable to me. And making products that I want people to feel comfortable in. The ultimate goal for Extra Pulp is for you to be able to go from your couch to cocktail hour without having to change your clothes. I want to make comfort a lifestyle, because the one thing that white people hate the most are rested, comfortable, confident, articulate brown people.
Since we're here, tell me about the impact of Virgil when it comes to fashion and your feelings on that.
I think he's the one that kicked the door open. And I don't think we saw the beginning of his true creativity. I think he had a blueprint. I think he observed the market so well for such a long period of time that as an engineer, we have to remember this man's an engineer, that he was able to formulate a blueprint that would give him the opportunity to put his name on everything without actually having to physically create anything. And he did that 100% using his ethos and his ability to execute. He always followed through. And so many people want to be in this space of retail and creativity when it comes to clothing and whatnot, but are you going to follow all the way through? The consumer needs follow through. And even though I may not have enjoyed some of the offerings from Off-White, I've always marveled at how he was able to be creative in so many other arenas as well. So just the fact that he existed means that other people can come behind him and hurdle what he did during his time here, and he welcomes the innovation, in my personal opinion.
When it comes to having a business that's so emotionally driven, how do you create boundaries for yourself and the business?
Patience. Being very, very patient, because the process is the purpose. And knowing that once I finish the product, that is when it's going to be perfect. As I'm working on it, the goal is not perfection for me. I think the goal is solidarity. I just want to be able to continuously create great products that fill a void in the marketplace and drive emotion. Like I said, with the pandemic, we were speaking earlier, not a lot of people took time to go in. Everyone was still rushing to get back to it, an illusion of what once was. And the reality is, that was one of the most valuable times in my life. To really figure out where I fit
for you
in this world, for me personally, you know? Being behind the bar, you're almost auditioning for your salary nightly. And you have to leave your personal feelings at the door a lot. In order to satisfy the needs and demands of the room, and in order to make the money that you want to make at the end of the shift. So just getting to a point where I was able to say, you know, there are a lot of emotions and a lot of energy that I had unsettled or unresolved that I needed to sit and resolve in order for me to be successful in the next phases of my life, in the next chapters. And I took that time to do that. And it's just kind of sad that a lot of people didn't also take that time. But the boundary that I need to create is not really with me and the brand. It's about me and how much of the brand I'm sharing with the world before I'm actually ready to.
What does complete look like for you when it comes to a product? Like, what are your concerns with a product?
I think you just know it when you see it. I think it's a feeling more than anything else. I think completion is a feeling more than a status or an end goal. Case in point, you know, this jacket doesn't have any design on it, but it's complete. If I wanted to add something to it, I could, that would be my continuation on somebody else's idea. But for the most part, it was done when I bought it. I don't have anything that at the moment I'm confident in selling and knowing that when someone walks away with it, it's done after the transaction.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be there's so many things that I'm still thinking about creatively and functionally for the things that I'm creating that I haven't been able to solve all the problems that I want to solve in this space. And there aren't any things that I can't. There aren't things that I can't figure out. There are things that I just don't have the resources to figure out at the moment. So just knowing that this thing is going to take some time, and I'm not doing it for anybody else but myself. I'm not comparing my brand to anybody else's, and I just want it to be exactly what it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be it.
Do you know about the 30% rule?
No, please tell me.
30% rule means if you change someone's product by 30%, it is yours. That's what a custom product is. So when it comes to the sneakerhead culture, you see that in terms of alterations with certain sneakers, over dunks, over Air Forces.
Gotcha.
A lot of folks have done it.
That's why Nike just patented the Air Force One design.
Yeah, because it was probably one of the most custom-made shoes on the market, outside of Jordans.
Yep, the Jordan 1.
Yeah. So, in your experience as a clothing maker, outside of being a winemaker, have you ever come across someone who had a similar design and you had to sit down and have a discussion on like, hey, I did this before you and I see where the concept comes from?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have not had a conversation with any of the individuals per se, but I don't look at it as anyone. I changed my perspective of it.
Okay, so there was a before and after.
It was a before and after.
What was the before?
The before, I made myself a victim. And I made myself a victim from the space that I made something and then that thing inspired somebody else to make something similar. I should have saw value in competition as opposed to a potential a detraction from what I created.
Okay.
I saw it as a detraction from what I created when I should have seen it as value of competition and also someone who's able to glean from my inspiration.
Yeah.
I think it should have been more of a compliment more than it was me being a victim of circumstance. And just knowing that everything has already been done under the sun.
Yeah.
The color blue has been used so many more times, but that doesn't mean I can't do anything with the color blue. This is about what do I want to do intentionally.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to reign supreme is intention. I can take one of your ideas right now and do everything that you plan to do with that one idea, but then what am I going to do next season?
What inspires the next season?
I just took this one idea from you. It made me some money this year, but I have no idea what you were going to add to that next year. And then by me attempting to add to your idea that I stole next year, I'm getting further and further away from myself. And then what am I selling?
So when it comes to clothing, you're following your truth.
Yes.
Okay. After you had that moment, how did you readjust your emotional expectations of what you should expect from others or how you should perceive it?
The person who says that they don't care is actually the person that cares the most.
Yeah, definitely.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was say, as opposed to acting like I don't care or saying I don't care, I care so much that I can't let it affect me anymore.
Facts.
Because that doesn't serve me. It only hinders me.
Yeah.
And then knowing that I have the capacity to care deeply, I set up boundaries around the things that I'm around in general.
Okay, so what's a boundary look like for you?
Minimizing the amount of people I'm around on a consistent basis.
Okay.
And minimizing the amount of people who actually hear my voice.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah.
What's the thought process? Because I do the same thing. I just want to hear your side.
I minimize the amount of people that can hear my voice because it creates a space where fewer people think they know you, and it allows you to show as you want to be seen on a more consistent basis. A lot of things when people, especially me, I'll speak from personal experience. When I'm talking, I'm not able to observe as much as I want to.
Yeah.
And if I'm not able to observe as much as I want to, then that means I'm distracted. So I set up boundaries with limiting the amount of people that I'm around, limiting the amount of people that I talk to, and the less things I'm talking about, they're the more things that I'm working on. The fewer people I'm talking to, that's the less time I have not to be working on my brand.
Yeah.
And it's just about that going inside phase, you know, focusing on what's really, really going to bring me happiness, what's going to consistently make me happy over and over, and what's going to also, my greatest reward in life is autonomy. Being able to wake up every day and ask myself, do I want to do everything or nothing? And I just feel really, really blessed and fortunate to be in that position. And I just want to focus on doing that because the products are going to come. The things that I want to do, the dreams that I have, they're going to come.
Yeah.
But if I'm not healthy, if I'm not in my right mind, if I'm not in my right body, I won't be able to do those things. So being patient with the process has been stressful.
Yeah.
No doubt. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Financially speaking, what have you had to sacrifice to bring this to life?
Everything. I traded in everything.
Give me an example. That walkthrough is about to be vicious.
I was in a relationship where I had to choose in between being a better boyfriend or an entrepreneur. And I chose entrepreneurship. And with that decision, I lost a relationship that was the best relationship that I've ever had. But trusting that loss was for a reason, it lets me know that there are better relationships to come.
Yeah.
I just have to continue doing the work.
So you believed in the future?
Always.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic and indestructible. Yeah, that just got me sitting back thinking. I haven't even thought about this space in a long time. And I don't know why.
Well, you're present.
Yeah.
So being present is a double-edged sword. When you're present at all times, this is why I reflect so much. So like when you hit me up, every time you hit me up, I'm having an introspective moment, is because as important as it is to live your life, it's also important to look back and acknowledge what you've had to either let go or what didn't make it with what you thought this life was going to be at this part.
Well, I think it's like we have to take the negative stigma out of depression. Because, for instance, all the leaves fall off the trees every year.
Eventually.
Those trees are depressed.
Yeah.
It's in a depressive state. But it's not forever.
Yeah.
It's just one season.
Yeah.
Or a couple of seasons, you know?
Yeah.
And knowing that life is going to do that over and over and over again, overwhelmingly, we have to start being more patient with ourselves.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be old a lot longer than you're young.
Definitely.
And there's too much responsibility being put on this first 40 years of life. And what if you live to be 90?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I preach presence so much, because everything you're supposed to have, you will have when you're supposed to have it. But and right now you have the gift of this moment.
When it comes to trees, that's a process that they have to go through. When it comes to depression, everyone has something or someone that's a favorite. And you want to protect that moment. Whether it's success, whether it's your favorite pen that never runs out of ink no matter what, or whether it's the factory that makes the ink in that pen that's shut down and now you're limited.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But aren't we're all not strangers. We're not that different.
We're not.
So in the
we
same,
like to be though.
We think we are.
Yeah.
But we're not really strangers. So in the same space where, if something has made me sad before, I should have the understanding that things have made you sad as well.
Hopefully.
And that's how we seek understanding. At least in my opinion, that's how we should seek understanding in each other.
But there's also danger in that because not everyone experiences that. So some folks may have experienced loss like you've experienced loss, but they didn't digest it the same. So they look at you and they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And you're like, wait, what?
Because I haven't really spoken about it with a lot of people. So even just having that question and just going back to that space, I gave up all the furniture that I had. I lost an entire apartment full of furniture.
So you sold the apartment, or you
lost it? I woke up when I made the decision to choose entrepreneurship over the relationship. Woke up one Monday morning. I was asked to move out.
Oh.
I was packed in 30 minutes and I was out in 5 days with everything that I could take with me. And that was the beginning of this process, like the shedding. So I had to shed a lot of things from the past in order to be alone with myself. And after I was alone with myself and I saw what I had just at the base level, I was very proud of the man that I was. And I decided to support that man in his evolution more than I ever had before.
Was that eye-opening, being alone with yourself and realizing who you're able to be alone?
I've always spent a lot of time alone. So as a child, I have 7 brothers and 5 sisters.
Yeah.
But growing up in my mother's house, I have one older brother, myself, and my younger twin brother. So I've always been the middle child. I was the middle child. And I've always been on an island. And it was one of those things that my mother like really, really supported. She was like, when he's there, just let him be in his own space.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that after this recent, after this last trial and tribulation, these last, steps through life that I've progressed through, I was able to look back and see the value of finding that island. Because that island is peace.
Yeah.
And once you're at peace with yourself, there's very little that the world can do to knock you off your square. But because there are things that are constantly attempting to knock you off your square.
Yeah.
And having peace is the strongest, most valuable and sustaining force, in my opinion.
When you were out of the country, did you find forms of peace?
Indeed.
Because you had a lot of time. You had a glow about you when we would talk from time to time, and you're like, hey man, I'm just chilling. Yeah.
Because it's about, I think profession is the largest detriment to our evolution. Because having to think about your first conversations with people in this town.
Yeah.
It starts with what you do so they can begin judging you or compartmentalizing certain parts of who you are for their benefit.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey man, what do you do? Live.
Yeah.
I eat 3 meals a day. I sleep 10 hours a night. And I work out 3 times a week.
And you drink at least 3-liter bottles of water.
Yes, I drink at least 180 ounces of water a day. So, I drink 90 ounces of water a day. So it's one of those things where, okay, cool, that's what I do. No, but what do you do?
I just answered you.
I don't know what else to tell you. What do you do for money? Nothing.
Yeah.
And people are stuck comparing their status symbols to who I really am. And I just want to be able to be content with who I am, so it's not a matter of what someone else can do to take me away from that ever again.
This conversation reminds me of the founder of Kith.
Okay.
When he brought the sneakers back, everyone was like, well, what do you do? Outside of bringing the sneakers back, what do you do? And he was like, I brought the product back.
Right. Have fun.
What?
What more do you want? What more can I do?
It's not even what more do you want.
Sure.
Why are you not enjoying what is here that the market didn't have until I did it? You're having this conversation with me because of what I've done. Not because of the other things coming in the future. I did this thing and now I'm significant, so we can have this convo because I did it. So why are you demanding other things when we're here already?
Wow. Expectations are distractions, man.
It is.
And people project their expectations unapologetically.
And just because you're hungry doesn't mean I have to feed you.
Fair.
Yeah.
Your problem, but also people love making their problems the world's problems. And, just creating distance. And also I think it's giving space. It's not just creating distance. It's also giving space, because there are certain relationships that I've had that needed space. There are certain responsibilities that I had that just needed space.
Yeah.
And giving those things, though, that the space that was necessary was also rewarding, because the future is brighter. The possibilities of what some of those relationships can be in the future, they grow with the distance, in my opinion.
Tell me the importance of taking advantage of an opportunity, like when you were in Turkey last year, and the significance of that move.
If you don't go, you would never get there. Everyone has dreams.
Yeah.
At least most people have dreams.
But why Turkey?
I had a friend that was already in Turkey, and we were looking for countries that were open, and it was one of the countries that was open and highly raved about.
Also, they're communal.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were people who, for instance, there are people from Russia who have relocated to Turkey and have been there since the beginning of the pandemic. And it's also the value of the dollar.
Yeah.
Last year when I first got to Turkey, the dollar was 8.6 times stronger than the Turkish lira. So my rent in DC is $1,800. If I keep my apartment on Airbnb here in DC, I'm able to make a profit on that unit. I'm able to live off that money in another country.
Yeah.
And still sustain home. So I would not be able to do that in any other country in the world because of at that time that would allow U.S. travelers. That was the country I was able to just be. And
so is that what you had to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
In my just being, I was able to then build. And, I think that's just the true power of God. Not being so caught up on what I'm supposed to do, but just being caught up on the reality that I'm here to do something.
Yeah.
And once I was able to get my grounding, is then, to the point, which one of my interests do I want to pursue now? Those are the questions that I have with myself, like, not what do I have to do?
What do I want to do?
What do I want to do?
Yeah.
I wanted to get into CNC. I want to get into my CNC certification. I want to get into
CNC?
Metal cutting,
Okay.
laser cutting.
Okay. Is it to build when it comes to the products that you provide?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to make products for outer space. Everyone's talking about space. So if that's the next frontier,
Space is back.
I'm going to need tools to be a part of the innovation that's going to happen. A lot of those tools require skills. So I have to gain those skills to be able to utilize the tools. You might have to cut a lot of metal to build a new world.
Yeah. That's without a doubt.
Even down to the base level. Like, if you need a locksmith, who you calling? So as opposed to me thinking about what I need to do to make money, we're surrounded by money.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, what can I do to help empower my community? Because Lamine hit me with one of the best sayings that I've ever heard in my entire life. And he said, he prayed, and he said, God, I do not need you to bless me anymore. I don't need any more skills. I don't need any more money. I don't need any more talent. Can you please bless my circle? I need hustlers. And that's exactly where I'm at right now in life. Like, I really do believe that God has given me everything that I need. I don't need any more skill, talent, money. I don't need anything else. I need my community to be empowered because I can't go forward without them.
Okay. What's the importance of adapting to a culture? So I know you told me when you were in Turkey, there were folks who are like across the town who knew who I was, who you never met. And that's because that's how communication worked in that community.
The city I spent the most time in is a city called Goreme. And it's in the center of Turkey in the mountains. And whenever, my sister told me, she said, whenever you feel lonely, go for a long walk or go help somebody. So whenever I would feel lonely, I would go for a long walk or I'll go see if I can help somebody. If someone was just sweeping up their storefront, I would say, hey, you have another broom. Let me help you clean this up. Someone's gathering their trash. Hey, let me help you take this to this place. That's how you build community.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I've walked around every day so much for 30 days that I met all 2,500 people that live in the town. And they're all family. all 2,500 people, all families inside of Gourmet Cappadocia, all of them work in the hospitality industry. So when I go to one person's restaurant, that's his aunt's hotel. One person's shop, they have another car dealership that this own person rents cars for desert excursions. So it's a community that's so tight knit that they really welcomed me in because they were able to feel me as an individual. It wasn't me just showing up to tell them who I am. They were able to observe who I am. And I think there was great value in that.
Did that value add to your value when you realized this is how they functioned?
No. What I will say it did, though, it gave me a blueprint on how we can coexist in smaller quantities. Because for that town to be a town of 2,500 people, it just gave me an insight on what I think the African American community could be. If we focus on the things that, this same area, Cappadocia, they didn't have electricity until 1965. So during the winter, every night, it's muscle memory to go out and build a fire. So at night, when it begins to get cold, when it begins to get dark, you have to begin building a fire. If not, you might not have a fire that night.
Yeah. That
simple understanding of what is necessary to take care of us is what they showed me. And then what's the word I'm looking for? You remain charismatic in front of people so they can do it consistently. The head of house doesn't have to say, hey, it's time to build the fire.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold and the family must stay warm. So essential functions.
Yeah.
And I just want us to begin focus on what we need to be essential, what we need to function healthily, comfortably, and then we can focus on all the sexy stuff. What are the needs? Like I feel almost I haven't really been able to drop a product because I feel kind of bad about it a little bit.
What do you mean?
It's a uncomfortable feeling of like I'm about to sell clothing when there are still people starving. And that's one thing that's been hard for me to, because I know people are acting like it's 2019 all over again and 2020 never happened and 2021 isn't happening. But knowing that all of these things happen, there are people that are starving right now.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Go for it.
There was always someone starving before we thought about them.
Indeed, there was definitely someone. There's definitely
make it right though.
It doesn't make it right.
It doesn't
make it right. But it's just in this moment.
Reality.
Is the reality?
Yeah, that's our reality. That as you grow, you learn to acknowledge and readjust and reassess. Wait, there's someone who doesn't benefit from this.
I want to be impactful. I want to fill a need. Okay. And that's something I'm kind of lusting to do. I have this yearning inside of me to fill a void for people who can't fill that void for themselves. And I really want to find a way to get more resources to my people because I do feel like we're under an attack. And it's a very, very spiritual attack. It's not carnal at all.
Yeah.
And the people who are the most displaced are the people who have the least amount of resources, intellectual resources.
Yeah.
So before I sell things, or even before I begin to present these products for profit, I want to give away the game, so other people can do the same thing. How you
built it?
Yeah.
So, So what I will say is, you haven't not been giving away the game. You'd like to make it more organized and concise.
Yes,
so when folks come to you,
thank you.
Or they go to other people, you can share it and say, "Hey, we
this
did
the book.
This. It's right here.
Boom, go
Whether
get
it's
it.
Book, video, audio.
Right.
So you're there. It's right in front of you.
Fair.
Like we talked about on the porch. It's already in front of you.
It's up for me to just walk in it.
And just organize and hopefully come across the right person who will help you do this. And then how do I pitch that?
Right.
But then you have the responsibility of making the information appealing, because people don't want it unless you make it appealing, even if it's good for them.
But then that's when I have to just stand back and say everything isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I did my best.
And that's a good boundary.
I did my best.
That's a business boundary.
I did my best.
So, going back to business boundaries, because I feel that's so important. Financially speaking, did you have to save to be in the position that you're in?
I did.
Or after, what did saving look like for you? Like, talk me through the steps of, I cut back here, I no longer did this, because it's like, no, the dream.
I've never told anybody this before, Juice. I might need a little bit of water. You got any water,
cool.
please?
Yeah, I got you.
I have never told anybody this before. This is gonna blow your fucking mind a little bit.
You do the story first, I get the water.
Done.
I bet.
So when in 2016 I was fired from the Jefferson Hotel. That year I made $136,000 bartending. And me and the people who I worked with, we were living just very beautiful lives. And once I realized that I have the ability to create my world, when that opportunity ended, I never filled out another application again.
Okay.
Every other venue that I went to from that point on, it was a partnership. So one thing that I did that I've always helped me in the industry was I've always saved more than I spent. So 2016 was where I lost the best bartending job I ever had, but in 2011 was when I started bartending full time. Up until 2011, I worked full time for the federal government, so I always had a foundation beneath me that allowed bartending to be my fun money. When my fun money turned into my only money, I then had to begin saving more than I spent. So as opposed to going out, I made all the events at the bars that I worked at. So I never had to spend money on my birthday for a birthday party because I always made money bartending on my birthday at my bars. That way I've never been in a space where I spent any real money. I've always saved. The only thing I spent money on is clothes and travel. So outside of that, I've always saved more than I spent. And then it's got to a point where, what am I saving for? It's time to start doing something with this money that I'm saving, because poor people are poor because they don't save. Middle class is middle class because they save, but the wealthy are wealthy because they invest. And I've just been thinking of ways to invest my money into the things that I'm interested in and working for return on investment on those things in the future.